Hi beautiful souls, it's Tan here again with another video on astrology for you today, and we're going to be talking about transiting Jupiter, moving into the sign of Capricorn after having been in Sagittarius for the past year. So this video is actually sort of a continuation from the Saturn-Pluto conjunction in January 2020 video that I made a couple of weeks ago. Because in addition to that conjunction in Capricorn, we also have Jupiter moving into the same sign as that Saturn-Pluto conjunction. So if you haven't watched that video, I'd recommend that you check it out first, because I do talk about that Saturn-Pluto conjunction, going through all of your houses according to your rising sign. And I also tell you how to check to see exactly where it's happening in your chart, because sometimes, you know, with the degrees of your rising sign, it may not always be in the houses that it should theoretically be in. Also in this video, I may not go into too much detail with regards to what Jupiter in Capricorn is going to be doing within your houses according to your rising sign. I will go into it a little bit, but I want to talk a little bit more about what's actually happening with that energy in the sky, because Jupiter, you know, is ruled by Sagittarius and is exalted in Cancer, and Cancer is the opposite sign of Capricorns. So what does this actually mean? Does it mean that we're going to be unlucky with regards to that particular area of our life, especially with Saturn and Pluto there as well? That's the question here. And no, it does not mean that we're going to be unlucky. Jupiter will still do its job there. So, you know, Jupiter is really this planet of expansion, luck, you know, faith, trust, optimism, and whichever house it's moving through within your chart, it's going to bring those themes within to that area of your life. But how is it expressed in the sign of Capricorn? Which is, you know, Capricorn is the sign of pragmatism, you know, practicality, you know, believing in things that are only have been proven in real life to have actually happened, like statistics, you know what I'm saying? So Jupiter is really about faith. So they're very, very much opposite to each other. Not opposite, but they have nothing in common actually. Sagittarius, which is ruled by Jupiter, and Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn, are sitting next to each other in the astrological wheel, meaning they are semi-sextile signs, meaning that they have nothing in common. So I'd like to use a little analogy here to explain this energy, and I highly recommend that you watch this part of the video, because as I talk about Jupiter transiting through each of the houses, I will refer back to the analogy. So, okay, so the way I see this is like this. Like, you know, we all know this saying, is the glass half empty or half full? And as we all know, the nature of Jupiter is that Jupiter is going to say, of course the glass is half full, because that is Jupiter's nature. It's optimistic. That's optimism. That's trust. That's faith, right? And of course there are some planets that are going to say that glass is half empty, but that's not really Capricorn. Capricorn will say, oh well, the glass is just a glass of wine, because that's what you can see, that's what's proven, that's realism, that's Capricorn, okay? You know, wine in this glass represents the abundance of Jupiter. Jupiter is bringing wine and abundance into a particular area of your life regarding the houses that Jupiter is moving into. But, you know, instead of seeing that, oh, you know, this glass that's been offered within this part of your life is half full, because it's, you know what I'm saying? It's more about seeing the reality of the situation, that it is just a glass of wine, that is just abundance. And what can happen here is that because the two energies are so different from each other, what you might do if you, let's say in your own natal chart, your own Jupiter is making a lot of squares and oppositions, and even some very tight conjunctions, except with Saturn or Mercury, because Mercury is the opposite of Jupiter. You might take this energy in an exaggerated way. Okay, that's what Jupiter does. Jupiter, when Jupiter is being misused, Jupiter is going to exaggerate, and Jupiter is going to be excessive. So you might take this glass, and when Saturn is being infused in there, you might make the glass pretty much like this, overflowing until there's too much of it. So you are overindulging, excessive use of this energy, overpromising. Okay, that's what can happen. Now, what can happen if your Jupiter in your own natal chart is, let's say, not making a lot of aspects. It's like in Gemini, or it could even be in Capricorn, or it's making a lot of inconjunctions, it's having a lot of mismatched energies or semi-sextile energies. Your Jupiter, when met with this Saturn, might say, oh, well, the glass is actually half empty. And it might turn into pessimism. So there's two different extremes that can happen here. So the lesson here that we are being asked to learn when Jupiter moves into Capricorn with Saturn and Pluto also there in Capricorn is to see the trees, not just see the forest. Okay, because Jupiter is so big picture, but Saturn is realism. So we're being asked to also see the trees as well. We are being given the forest. We are. Jupiter is still expanding that house. You're getting all the abundance. You're getting the forest, but you have to see the trees. Why? Because this, Saturn has been moving through this house of yours, and Pluto as well, for a much longer time. And with that Saturn-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn, as I mentioned in that the video that I made earlier about Saturn-Pluto conjunction, is that there's a karmic lesson that's being learned. Okay, so it's almost like, because Saturn wants you to be aware of that, and Capricorn wants you to be aware of that. Are you really getting a glass of wine? You could be getting a glass of poison. You could be getting a glass of blood. You could be getting a glass of palm oil. Are you still going to see it as being half full? You see what I mean? That's what Saturn is trying to make you do, because now we're going to go back to Pluto. We're going to go deeper into Pluto, because Pluto has been doing this in this part of your life for a long time, right? Because what Pluto has done this. Pluto has said, do you remember when you were 4 years old, when you were a little kid, and that day your mother was so stressed out from something, and she was giving you this glass of dishwashing liquid detergent, and you drank it, and it was burning you inside. It was burning you from the inside out. Do you remember that? That's what Pluto is doing. Pluto is digging up your wound within that area of your life, that house. And when Saturn meets up with Pluto, Saturn's like, did you recognize your wound? Did you know that because of that, you have been going through a pattern in your life? You've been giving dishwashing liquid to other people unconsciously to feel secure. You have been not drinking. You have been not drinking enough because you're afraid that you're going to be drinking dishwashing liquid just to feel secure. You have been drinking dishwashing liquid maybe for a large part of your life because that's what made you feel secure. So Saturn wants you to see, right, what is that pattern that's been going on. So even though, Jupiter comes into Capricorn, Jupiter comes into, here with Saturn and Pluto, Jupiter does bring blessings and it does bring luck for you to heal that karmic wound. But not if you do not see the reality of a situation, because it wants you to develop good faith, good trust, not blind faith and not blind trust. It wants you to be aware that in the future, if you were to be given a glass again, you've got to make sure first that it's really a glass of wine, that it's real abundance, that it's not a glass of poison or a glass of dishwashing liquid. Because, hello, you've had that happen in your past. Are you learning from that? Okay? Do you see what I mean? And in a way, you know, this is the first time in a long time of, you know, having to drink dishwashing liquid or having to drink oil, right? This is the first time that you're actually getting what you deserve, that you're actually getting luck and abundance and happiness and optimism within that area of your life. You are. But realism, pragmatism first before you can indulge in it within the right amount. Okay, so let me just go through, you know, this analogy and how that's happening for each of the rising signs. So for Aries rising, yes, this is happening in your 10th house of your reputation, of your career, of who you want to be seen as in the world. So, you know, the lessons that you were learning with regards to the structures that you want to build your career and foundation on, you're being given a really fortunate blessing, but you have to not indulge in it, because if you do, you're going to take that power to a level that may not be healthy. So you're being given what you need, you've been given what you deserve, but keep your feet grounded, right? Now with Taurus rising, this is happening in your 9th house. So you're coming to understand, right? Through the pains of the 8th house, you're coming to understand the meaning of your existence, the meaning of life. You're gonna get a chance to travel again, to pursue that, you know, higher study that you wanted to study. But if you don't, but if you're not seeing, you know, the wine, but you're saying that the glass is half full, then you're, you know, then this is already the house that is ruled by Jupiter. Then you can go a little bit far with, for example, your travels, with your spendings on that, and you may even be teaching or giving perspectives and ideas and beliefs that are an overpromise, or that is not as honest as you may have, that you could be. So there's a need for you to be grounded in that sense, but you are being given those opportunities to move forward, to see the beauty and the optimism, have the optimism about life again. With the Aries rising, you can trust again that you are going to make it in the world, that you are going to get the success that you deserve. For the Gemini rising, this is happening in your 8th house. So the damage or the damage or the wounding with regards to your self-worth, and, you know, not being able to relate to people as intimately as you had hoped, oh, this is going to change. You know, this is the house of sex as well, so there's going to be a lot of healing with regards to your actual ability to intimately bond with another person through sexuality, through very, very deep love, and through shared resources, through getting inheritance and things like that. But again, we got to keep our feet firmly on the ground with regards to all these things. Otherwise, the power that can come with this house, you know, you're going to immediately lose what you cling on to so much all over again. Don't cling, right? Don't hold on too tightly. That's the lesson here of this house. And with the Taurus rising, you can trust again with regards to trusting another person to be very close. With the Cancer rising, this is happening in your 7th house. So, you know, you've been really in really horrible relationships for a really long time, and if you've done the shadow work, you know, Jupiter is coming in here to heal a very, very hidden part of you, to make you feel like it is okay now, like you can see parts of yourself that you've never been able to see before, and therefore you are no longer projecting in your relationships anymore. And that's when you receive someone in your life, you know, a relationship that's very satisfying through this time. It's very healing. You can trust again in relationships. So yes, you can trust again with this another person in one-to-one relationship with another person. But again, stay grounded. Remember the lessons that you've learned with regards to seeing the wine. Always keep weighing out the pros and cons of this other person that you are with. Do not get carried away with blind faith for your future, okay? Now for the Leo rising, this is going to happen in your 6th house of day-to-day activities of health and of work. So finally you are, going to have that job. Have an everyday environment in the place that you work in which you are going to feel like you can trust your colleagues again. You can trust the people at work again, that you are getting the abundance from work if you keep your feet on the ground. Health is improving. You finally find a routine that you feel you can trust to bring you happiness, to bring you a healthy lifestyle. But don't forget the lessons that you've had to learn from this in the past. Otherwise, too much trust leads you to be falling into, service to other people that will not benefit you, and then you go in this trap of health problems, health problems all over again. With Virgo rising, this is happening in your 5th house. So you are finally being given the lover, the romantic partner that you feel that you can finally trust and have faith in this person. You finally trust that when you express yourself and your creativity, through your hobbies, that you are being recognized once again. But keep your feet firmly on the ground, because if you don't, you may actually lose some money, because there's a lot of spendings that can come from Jupiter being here. And so that your ego is not involved. This is the house of the ego, especially for your future, and then you can really be recognized continuously into the future, and people are not gonna feel that people are going to feel that you are creating for their benefit and not just for yourself. You know what I mean? For the Libra rising, this is going to happen in your 4th house. So there's definitely been some really, really hard situations with regards to your family, with regards to the way that you nourish yourself, with regards to building a home, building a foundation for which you can, go to work and then come home to at the end of the day and then feel great with the core of who you are as well, with, your foundation inside of you. Now you're really, being given a chance to trust again, especially trust that, this place that you've built for yourself, this home, is always going to be there for you. Your strength, the inner core strength that you have. You've been, the abundance is coming in. You're stronger. You've got the strength to go on, okay? But of course, you've got to keep your feet firmly grounded, firmly on the ground, because if you don't, then otherwise, you're also being asked to remember what happened in the past. That sense of feeling alone, that sense of not having a place to come home to. If you indulge in excess, that can happen again, okay? So with the Scorpio rising, this is happening in your 3rd house. So if you've been trying to get your voice out about certain things, if you've been trying to feel really happy traveling, if you've been trying to form your opinions and your ideas about certain aspects of your life, now it's becoming solidified. Now you're really having this, you're infusing this faith, in the way that you think. You have faith that when you say something, people are definitely going to notice you and listen to you. That your thoughts, are becoming, you're so much optimism with regards to certain areas of your life now, in general. You feel smarter, you feel intelligent, you feel capable all over again. And any kind of delayed in paperwork, it's finally going to be settled. But you've got to keep your feet firmly on the ground, because if you fall into too much optimistic thinking, then of course there's always a chance that you're going to act on this optimism, and then it's going to have repercussions and come back to you the way that it has in the past by miscommunication, or feeling once again like you can't just, that you can no longer be on the same page with the people around you. And then falling into being in that environment within your everyday immediate environment that is of stress and abuse all over again because you were too optimistic. The Sagittarius rising, this is happening within your second house. So this is the time when money's flowing into your bank account. Whatever you do, it just seems like it's raining dollar bills, right? But then again, savings, spendings, find that balance, right? Otherwise, you're going to fall into the same pattern of, you know, valuing yourself based on how much money you're making and valuing yourself based on what you can buy. But then those two things are going to be out of balance again, and then you're going to fall into the money trap again. So keep your feet on the ground with regards to that. Capricorn rising, this is happening in your first house. So finally you are feeling like you've got the energy, you've got the optimism, you've got the faith in your willpower, you've got faith in your life, that things are actually happening in the right way for you again. You've got, you know, your personality is becoming once again exuberant, and you radiate joy and wisdom to the people around you, and then you become very, very attractive at this time of your life. But again, remember the lessons of the past. Remember what it is that you set your mind to really want in life, because Jupiter can be kind of a bit restless. Remember during the Saturn-Pluto conjunction what it is that you want to do in your life, and use Jupiter as an arrow, like an archer that points into that direction, not the archer that begins to go in shoot in different directions. You see what I mean here? With the Aquarius rising, this is happening in your 12th house. So this is a very, very healing time, especially for all things that have been, you know, in your unconscious. If you've been feeling like you've had to go to therapy and you've had these existential questions and you're trying to get connected again to divinity, Jupiter is coming in here. It's definitely bringing that larger perspective into that area of your life. It's giving you the abundance that you need to be able to get through all these things, and it's giving you the faith and the optimism to dig very deep into this part of your life and to connect again, and you're getting so much closer to the connection with divinity. But keep your feet firmly on the ground, because as we all know, there can be, you know, if you open up that channel of yourself, maybe your third eye too much, we all know what can happen there. You don't want to have to be receiving spiritual messages that you shouldn't be receiving. And your dreams, you know, interpret them in a practical sense. Otherwise, you can even be misguided from that. So keep the lessons that you've had before in the past with you all the time. With the Pisces rising, this is happening in your 11th house. So, Pisces rising, if you've been feeling like you just don't fit in, that you've been looking into astrology, that you've been looking into all metaphysical subjects, and the people around you will never understand what you're doing, and they'll never understand why you've chosen to be with certain groups of people and not them. You've chosen to be with a certain partner and you just don't fit in. Well, Jupiter is giving you the wisdom and the abundance to find those who are going to understand you, to find those like minds now, so you no longer have to feel like an outcast. But you've got to remember the lessons that you've had to learn in the past, to remember to be discriminating with certain groups as well, that you cannot belong in all groups, because otherwise you could be misled into just wanting to fit in. You see what I mean? Even though you may not actually believe in what you're fitting into. So keep those lessons that you've learned in the past with you. So that's it, beautiful souls. That's all I have to say for Jupiter moving into Capricorn. I absolutely think it's going to be a great time, because, you know, we are going to get all the luck and the wisdom along with the, you know, the faith within that part of our lives again. But of course, it's not going to be like when Saturn was in Sagittarius, that we just totally like rely a lot on faith. And there's so much, you know, there's a lot of positive things that can come out when you really trust yourself and when you have faith. But there's another lesson here with regards to faith that we're also being asked to consider, just to be a little more wiser. So that's it. I hope everybody's going to have a great Jupiter transit through Capricorn, which is going to be happening at the start of December. And yeah, do feel free to comment below and let us know if you've been already feeling this energy within your chart. And yeah, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you haven't. If you already subscribed, thank you very much for coming along on these astrology growth journeys, learning, growing together, and having better relationships with the people around us. I'll see you soon, guys. Bye.